Coach, good to have you back in. The Coach Martin Show, Mornings with Martin. We're here on this lovely lake, brought to you by Ohatchee Discount Supermarket, or Foods.
Discount
Different foods, there we go. Sorry. Anyways, Coach, last week you knew coming in this was going to be a very, very tough game. And to give people, and we talked about this on our Road to the Blue Map show, to give you an idea how strong and how unbelievably hard your region is, you're ranked second in the state, but you're on the road in the first round. I mean, if you put that into perspective, but that actually prepared you for what you faced last Friday, in my opinion, traveling two hours and a half to Lauderdale County and coming out ultimately with 28-14 victory.
Well, we knew we were going to play a good Lauderdale County football team. I mean, we went over there 4 years ago. We know it's a tough place to play. It's a throwback into the 70s. I mean, it's just good blood and guts, hard-nosed football, very much like a lot of the teams up here in Northeast Alabama. And so we knew it was going to be really a tough football game. I thought that the game kind of played that mentality in the fact that it wasn't the most cleanly played game, and I don't mean from a dirty standpoint. I'm just talking about it was just one of those rough and tumble football games where both teams were very physical. Both teams were playing in the telephone booth, so to speak, and we knew it was going to be a physical test. And then you're going and playing a good football team that's they were 8-2, having lost to a 5A Brooks team, and then lost to East Lawrence, who was their champion, 14-13. So they had won. They'd gotten on a roll at the end of the season, and I'll tell you what, they were a good football team, and we knew it was going to be a test.
When you go into a game like that, an atmosphere like that, your style of play, physical on defense, you put the ball on the ground, you run. I'm not fumble, but put it on the ground, run the ball. You kind of love that kind of atmosphere, though. Personally, I mean, your team's built for.
Well, I do. I mean, our team is built for that. But we knew it was going to be a low possession game. I had multiple people ask me, "Golly, Coach, 28 points. What happened? What went on?" I said, "Well, the bottom line was there wasn't but like 7 or 8 possessions the whole game. We scored 4 of them. We got down there, we turned the ball over twice, and we punted twice, and boom, the game's over." So I thought our guys did a great job. We actually knelt on it a couple of plays at the end of the game, but we didn't have the ball a lot. I mean, they were as much keeping the ball away from us as we were keeping the ball away from them. And, when you do that, I mean, those games are going to go quick. I mean, you think about this, the game ended. We went through the alma mater, going back in the locker room, changing clothes, coming back out, visiting with parents, going through that, loading up all the equipment, loading the bus, and we're on the bus going down the highway. It's 9:30. So
I was going to say, I stuck around for a while.
I mean, that game ended. I mean, that game didn't take very long to play, and so you're going to have limited possessions. And I thought our defense did a great job, and I thought our offense answered the bell when they had to.
Coach, take us back to that fourth quarter drive there when late in the game, and you had made them burn 2 timeouts. We talked about it a little bit earlier, and it's third down. You could have ran the ball and ran a little bit more time off, made them use their third timeout, but you chose to throw it.
Well, we did. We're not a throwing team, but
I don't know about that, Coach.
We can throw it. We can throw it when we have to. We work on it real hard, but the last drive of the game we had taken, and actually it was 20 to. I'll take you back a little bit further. It was 20 to 14. They had scored. We got the ball and started driving it again. We were down on their end of the field, and we had a 3rd and 3, and we had an errant pitch go. It went through our hands. We fumbled the football. They recovered. This is in the 4th quarter, and so a drive there, and they've got a lot of momentum. A drive there, and they can take this and go down and actually take the lead in the 4th quarter. But again, our defense rose to the occasion and made some great stops. We threw them for losses on a couple. They had a legal motion penalty to open the drive, and then we sacked them twice, which got them in super long field position. And on 3rd down, they weren't able to get all that yardage back, and so they punted to us. And so we got the ball back with about 7:15 left in the game and started our methodical driving down the field. And I got to give our offensive line and guys credit. There was a lot of want to right there. We went down the field. We got down to their 19-yard line, and we did. We had run the ball twice. They had burnt 2 timeouts. They had 1 timeout left. Our guys came over, and we got a choice to make. We can run the ball right here, force them to use that last timeout, but we're still going to have a 4th and whatever. And if we don't convert it, they're getting the ball back with a minute plus left, no timeouts, but the game is still a 6-point game. So if we take a chance and we do throw it right there on third down, and we don't make it, we're still almost in the same boat. It's still going to be a minute and change left, except they'll have one timeout. The timeout didn't bother me as much as I felt like the risk reward was really good if we were successful, because we're not going to change very much from a defensive standpoint if we don't make it. But if we do make this happen and we do score, well, then basically the game's over. And we did run play action pass, and they sold out and brought 11 basically. And it was just a choice of who you were going to throw it to. And Eli stood in there to the last moment. We had great protection, even though we couldn't block every one of them that was coming. At least it was coming from the outside, and he was able to release the ball before he got hit. And Trey Pesnell made the catch and walked into the end zone with nobody around him. And we went for 2. Noah scored the 2-point conversion, put us up 14 points with basically a minute left, and that was pretty much the ball game.
We'll rewind the clock to the off season coming into this season with everything surrounding this season, and literally a lot of people, including even some of us, thought, man, if we can just get some games in for these seniors at least with this COVID stuff going on. And to know that now you're already in the playoffs and you've made the trip to Montgomery, how does all that feel to you, man?
Well, I mean, it's surreal to a certain point because, I talked with Steve Savarese, the head of the AHSAA yesterday, and we were just wishing that we weren't sure we were going to get 2 weeks of football.
That's right.
You don't ever get to know the identity of your team. Your off season's been cut short. You don't have a spring practice. You go into the summer without having put your kids through any trials or tribulations during the off season. So basically, your summer off season is your spring off season, and all of it crammed into one. And then we're still going on, and we're reading all the things, and we're thinking we don't even know if we're going to play football. But I will say the AHSAA had resolved that we were going to play it. The Alabama Football Coaches Association, High School Football and Coach Association, had resolved that we were going to get a seat. We were going to start the season on time. We did. Once we got through week 1, through week 2, all of a sudden we're in 3, we're in 4, we're in 5. Now, as a coach, your mentality's changed a little bit. Now you're trying to keep everybody healthy and without COVID, so that you don't have to sit kids, for 2 weeks. And so, you're very cautious about the mask wearing and the social distancing, and it's changed the whole mentality. And then, because now all of a sudden you're in a playoff run, you're getting ready for the playoffs, and you're trying to make sure your team's going to be operating at 100%. Our guys did a fantastic job. I mean, we were able to come out, lose a game in overtime. We were glad we got to play that game. We beat Piedmont in a big contested game. What 2 great teams. We were glad we got to play that game. We got to all the way to week 10 and play in Mumford in a non-region game. We're glad we got to play that game. Now we've played week 1 in the playoffs, and we feel like, hey, we're going to make it through the playoffs this year, one way or the other. And so the other night we were glad we got to play that game. And I think we're very appreciative as coaches and teams throughout the state that if there's been a sense of normalcy during this year, it's been high school football. High school football. It might not be usual because we're wearing masks or whatever, but the normalcy is that we're getting to play.
Well, let me ask you a question from a playoff standpoint. And I know you make the trips on Saturdays. How different is your preparation playoff time as opposed to a normal week?
Well, not much for us because I give our players and coaches off on Saturday.
Okay.
So that Saturday, instead of me maybe catching up on my rest, is me going to Montgomery. But you know what? You can't fault going to Montgomery because that means you won.
That's right.
So, I'm very happy to make that trip every Saturday.
Yes,
And I'll miss the first trip you don't make on Saturdays, this year or next year or whenever. You take those for granted sometimes, and then all of a sudden, if you don't win the game, it's like, man, what am I going to do when I wake up on Saturday? So, I'm very thankful for doing that. And then once we get there and we make the video swap with the team that we're going to play, I go ahead and forward that to our players and coaches. And when we go in on Sunday, it's business as usual, just like we're going to do today, like we do every week. We're going to go in and get ready for the next opponent.
You got another very, very tough opponent in Winfield. It's 10-1. Very, very good football team.
Well, they're a region champion. I mean, they didn't lose a region game. They lost a tough game to a Northside team early in the year, but they've been on a run. They're scoring a lot of points. What I've been able to watch of them so far is that they're a very well coached football team. Fundamentally, they're very sound. They remind us of what I hope we look like on film, and the fact that they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't do a lot, but what they do well. They play very fundamentally sound defensively, whether they're playing against a spread team or whether they're playing against an offense that's similar to ours, which is a very tight formation. So, they can do it all. So, being the type of team, it's 2 10-1 football teams. Again, it's putting us. We're in that hard road, just like everybody else is right here. You got 16 teams left, and I don't think there are any bad football teams left in this deal. And just case in point, Sachs beats the region champion, East Lawrence the other night by a touchdown. Our region goes 4-0, which a lot of people expected it to go 3-1, maybe 4-0. But I was one that thought, look, you better watch out for Sachs because those guys are well coached and they've got and look, they went through the gauntlet. They played our 3 region tri-champs tough and had to play them back to back to back. And I mean, they weathered that storm and look what they've done now. They're on a roll. So
and they're
it's just a tough road in the playoffs, but you can't look past anyone. I didn't look past Lauderdale County. There might have been some people that might have thought that's not going to be a tough game, but those guys in their region, they lost one game to East Lawrence, 14-13. They were right there for the region championship in that region. So, they're all tough. I mean, you get in the playoffs, every game can be your last game. I'm looking forward to playing this game because Coach McKinney and them have a good football program that he's going to be bringing in here from Winfield, and it's going to be a challenge for our kids.
Coach, give me a couple of keys to this game coming up. If you can do this and this, you think you're going to be all right?
Well, it's my same keys. You got to control the ball, eliminate turnovers. We already know it's going to be a physical game because he's built that kind of football team also. So, I don't think we're going to be able to put the ball on the ground or turn the ball over through the air that much and be able to win the football game. I think that turnover ratio is going to be a huge point because, again, they don't throw it a ton. But when they do throw it, they're very efficient with it. They will throw a lot of quick screens. They're able to run some down-the-field routes. They threw a post over the top the other night against Sylvania. So they can go deep with the ball. Their quarterback looks very accurate throwing the ball. It looks like he's got very adequate receivers out there catching the ball. He's got some speed on the perimeter in a couple of his receivers, and then he's got a lot of players in the slot that can catch the football. They've got a really complete offensive football team, and they've got a really good scheme. And what they do well. And then, like I said, defensively, they don't make a lot of mistakes. Fundamentally, they are a good, sound football team.
Being able to host this one at the Creek Bank, not be on the road for 2.5 hours, how important is that?
Well, it's always good to be back home. When you get there's the comforts of home, and also the on a normal year, I'd say the real huge crowd advantage. But you know what? The crowds on both sides are limited by the 33% rule. So I wasn't as worried so much about us selling out going to Lauderdale County because it was a 2.5-hour ride and it was going to be on TV and the radio. But we're going to be home this week against a really good football team, and we're limited to X amount of tickets. I'm going to let somebody else deal with that because there's going to be some fans that aren't going to be able to get in on Friday night, and they're going to be upset about it. But the rules are the rules, and all we can do is comply.
Coach, you don't want no part of that smoke.
No, I don't want any part of that. That's why those administrators make all that big money. But it's not coming from the administration either.
It's up above.
It's from the highest up, starting from the governor's office on down to the state association, and the state association is complying with the rules because if they don't, the governor and higher ups have the ability to shut down the season.
That's right.
So, it's a shame it's the way it is this year, but look at those college stadiums every week. You see the same thing.
That's right.
You don't think they'd have been hanging from the rafters in South Bend last night, but they were complying with their rules too. So, but you know what? To be honest with you, that doesn't concern me.
That's right.
Because what concerns me is what's going on between those white lines out on that football field and with the guys that are between the white lines. So that's what I'll focus on this week.
Coach, you said a 2.5-hour drive. But you did your part to make sure it was as comfortable as could be, right? The
We
Coachman
were very
Road broke.
fortunate through donations in our booster club to be able to ride in comfort and charter a bus, but also, you know, we broke the trip up. We stopped in Athens and ate our pregame meal there at the Cracker Barrel, and you know, we were able to get our kids out and get them walking around and get them moving around, because that next 30 minutes into Rogersville, you know, I didn't want to cruise up into Rogersville with us having slept to the very moment we got off the bus. I wanted us to get up, move around, start getting that blood flowing, because, you know, that 2 hours they did sleep hard, and I think it was important for us to get up and start getting into regular game day mode, and that part I thought our kids did a good job of, and being able to, you know, you just adapt and overcome. You know, the facilities are a little older there in Rogersville. It's not the biggest locker room. It's not the most ideal place to, you know, for pregame, because it's so cramped and small. Thank goodness the weather wasn't freezing. So you know, we were able to
That's coming,
get
Coach.
out a little bit. It's coming, but just to be able to kind of keep some sense of normalcy, but nothing was normal about that. So it was. I just appreciate the way our kids were able to overcome that adversity and move on.
Well, Coach, good luck to you. We're definitely looking forward to seeing you guys again. And as always, roll Tribe, roll.
Yeah, roll Tribe. But I appreciate it, and we look forward to this week. And like I said, it ought to be a great game Friday night.
Thank you so much, Coach.